Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to rush you this video practically unedited because it's a video you must see. It's a video that's been suppressed in the West. It was a video taped by Al Jazeera, but taped of the United Nations representative, the UNRWA, the United Nations agency that deals with Palestinians. When you see this video, you'll understand why it was suppressed, because the Zionist-controlled media of the Western world doesn't want to put a human face on the horror that's going on in Palestine, on the mass murder and maiming. You've got to understand that over 7,500 men, women, and children, over 80% civilians, over half women and children, and over 350 children and babies have already been murdered, and almost 2,500 as of this moment, and it's increasing, have been maimed or burned or disfigured. Babies and children who are suffering horrifically, folks. If the murder of 350 babies or children, and of maiming 2,500 children, disfiguring them for life, taking off arms and legs, blinding many of them. I mean, unbelievable, folks. If this isn't a war crime, if this isn't terrorism, then for God's sakes, what is? I saw this video because I went to the Washington Post and I looked at an article, and it mentioned the fact that the United Nations organization, UNRWA, a Westerner by the way, that he had broke down during the interview because he's aware and has seen the images of the latest Israeli bombing of a school in which 20 mainly women and children died, and over 100 were horribly injured. Now, when I clicked on the link for the video on the Washington Post site, this is what I got. I got the same broken link on the Daily Mail in UK, and I got the same broken link at Time magazine. So I chased down the video. I finally found it on Al Jazeera, and I'm replacing it here so that you in the West can see this, because most Westerners don't see Al Jazeera. The reason why the Zionists, who have so much ungodly influence in American media, and they've got the politicians in their back pockets, and they've got the big banks and the big money that controls the politicians, like Goldman Sachs, and they control the Federal Reserve, they control the World Bank. The reason why that they don't want you to see this video is because of the humanity of this video. They don't want to put a human face on it. Here it is. Take a look.
The rights of Palestinians, even their children, are wholesale denied, and it's appalling. My pleasure.
If it doesn't touch your heart when you learn of massive murder and maiming of children, if it doesn't touch your heart, then you got something the matter with you, folks. And the Western countries and America has been supporting Israel. America has sent them the bombs and the weapons and many of the jets that they're using to inflict this horrific genocide against thousands of people, innocent people. And the question is, why in the world We just passed sanctions against Russia simply for supporting some separatists in Ukraine. Look at what's going on in Israel. If any country ever deserved sanctions, look what's happening in Gaza, the West Bank. Look at these people who've been dispossessed, who've been driven out of their homes, who've been tortured by the tens of thousands of Israeli prisons, who suffered. I mean, Gaza is like an open-air prison. Look at these people today being massacred, these children being maimed. I am asking you to stand up and be a true person who believes in justice. Stand up and demand that this Israeli massacre of innocent Palestinian men, women, and children stops, and stops right now. And then go to every one of your politicians and demand that the sanctions that should be leveled in this world right now are not against Iran, but against Israel that's committing this genocide. Sanctions against Israel, and demand that the Israeli mass murderers who are killing hundreds of Palestinian children and maiming thousands more, as well as women, elderly, and men, that these people should be brought to justice for the war crimes they've committed. If this is not terrorism, if what Israel is doing against innocent Palestinians who are being blown to bits, burned, buried alive in many cases, can you imagine that? Being buried alive in the rubble, crushed, and slowly in agony, dying, trapped. If this is not terrorism, then pray to God. Pray God, what is terrorism? Stand up. Reach down into your heart, somewhere in your heart, and find the way to stop this mass murder, and find a way to understand, to free yourselves from this pernicious Zionist influence over your media, your government, your politicians, the international banks like Goldman Sachs, the International Monetary Fund, and the Federal Reserve, which are controlling the governments of the West and being complicit in this genocide. Stand up for your own freedom and for a free Palestine. And right this minute, stand up to save the lives of these innocent men, women, and children. I beseech you, make yourself proud. Stand up to this ungodly Zionist terrorist force that is oppressing and occupying and murdering the Palestinians, just as truly they're occupying and oppressing us in our politics, our media, and in international finance. I beg you to stand up. Save Palestine. Save the Palestinian people. Free Palestine. And free Europe, America, and the entire world of the pernicious influence and murderous influence of Zionism.